Now let's do long multiplication without using a calculator. So we have 345 and we're going to multiply it with 3. So 3 is in the ones place. Now we start from the right and then go left. Start with a 5. 5 times 3 is 15 and we're going to carry over as necessary. Carry the 1 over. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. So we have 1035. Let's double check. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1 over. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 13. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 10. Always double check before you move on. Now let's look at a slightly more complicated multiplication. So we're going to do long multiplication and we're not going to use a calculator. Make sure you have your multiplication tables memorized. That is very important to be successful in any math class. Have the multiplication tables 1 through 12 memorized. Now we're going to start with the rightmost number, which is in the ones place, and that is a 2. Now we're going to multiply starting with the rightmost number, which is the ones place. So 9 times 2 is 18. We carry the 1 over. 2 is in the ones place, so 2 is a 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Carry the 1 over. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 1, 17. Carry the 1 over. 5 times 2 is 10. And then we go 11. So it's 1, 1, 7, 8. Next, we move on to the next digit, which is a 3. So in 132, 2 is a 2, 3 is in the tens place, so 3 is not a 3 but a 30, and 1 is not a 1 but it's in the hundreds place, so it's 100. So this is what we have to keep in mind when we multiply. So when we multiply the number 589 by 3, remember that we are multiplying 589 by 30. And that's easy. Just I want you to look on this side. Look at some of the examples here. 6 times 3 is 18. But if I multiply 6 times 30, just add a 0 at the end, it becomes 180. I've just added a 0. Because multiplication is 10 is basically adding a 0 at the end. 6 times 10 is 60. 5 times 10 is 50. 7 times 10 is 70, 8 times 10 is 80, just adding a 0 at the end. So if my 3 is really a 30, all I have to do is add a 0 at the end. Make sure you're lining up the digits correctly. Now I'm going to multiply 2 with each of the digits, starting with the 9 and carrying over as necessary. I'm going to take 3 and multiply with 9. I'm done with 2 now. Now I've moved on to 3, which is really a 30, and that's why I have a 0 here. 9 times 3 is 27. I carry the 2 over. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 2. 8 3s are 24 plus 2 is 26. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. So what I've done is multiplied 30 with 589. I've accounted for the 0 by putting a 0 at the end and basically multiplied with a 3. 9 times 3 is 27. 8 times 3 is 24. 25, 26. 5 times 3 is 15. 16, 17. And that's how I get 17670. Now I'm going to multiply 589 by 1. Remember that 1, since it sits in the hundreds place, is really equal to 100. So multiplying by 100 is like adding 2 zeros at the end. So if I go 6 times 100 is really 600. 7 times 100 is 700. 285 times 100 is 285 with 2 zeros. So that's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to start multiplication with the 1 in the hundreds place, so I start with 2 zeros. And then 9 times 1 is 9. I always start with the rightmost digit. 8 times 1 is 8. 5 times 1 is 5. Now I add all the numbers. 7 plus 7 is 14. It's important to line up the place values correctly. Carry the 1 over. 9 plus 1 is 10, 11, 17. Add all the digits. Carry the 1 over. 8, 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. Plus 1 is 17. 5 plus 1 is 6. And then we have 7. So we have 77,748. And I'm going to double check using my calculator. And that is correct. So always do the work without a calculator when you're doing your homework. And you can always double check with the answers at the back of the book, because I usually assign odd numbered problems. If not, if you want that to be quicker, you can just use your calculator, but use it only to check your answer. You have to know how to do these things by hand. Now, if you had to estimate your final answer, remember, even if you're using the calculator, we need to have a rough idea of the size of the answer that we're expecting on the calculator. If not, we can get misled by the calculator answer, which could be wrong if you entered the wrong digits. Now, 589, if I round it to the hundredths place, 8 tells us to round up, so we add 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. Then these two numbers become zeros, so we have 600. And we're going to multiply with 132. Let's round it to the hundreds. One place value to the right. Look at the hundreds place. One place value to the right says round down, which means leave the 1 alone. The rest become zeros. So we go 600 times 100. Multiplying numbers with a bunch of zeros is easy, but you have to be careful. All you have to do is multiply the non-zero digits. 6 times 1 is 6. And now you have to account for zeros. There are 4 zeros. When you multiply, you add the total number of zeros and add them, and your answer is roughly 60,000. And that's your rough estimate. It's very rough. And look at your answer. It is in that range. At least it's not off by an entire digit. What if you got an answer like a 7774? Then you would think about it, because it's in the thousands and this is in the 10,000s. So always have an estimate, even if you're using a calculator. So we're going to find an estimate first. Let's see. We're going to round it to the 10,000s place. Now let's see. This is ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. So this is the digit I'm interested in. Right? That's where I want to round it to. Okay, so next, I look one place value to the right, and 5 and above tells me I need to round up. So I add 1 to the 10,000s place. That makes it a 3. Everything else on the right of the whole number becomes a 0. So what this is telling me is 25,648 is rounded to 30,000. The numbers have to be close. So we have roughly 30,000. Now let's look at the next number, 40,199. So that's the ones tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. So this is the 10,000s place. Okay, so look, one place value to the right, it's a 0 that tells us to round down, which means leave the 4 alone. Do not add a 1. That is what rounding down would mean. And you have 40,000 roughly. And if you look at this, 40,199 is pretty close to 40,000. So the rounding is correct. Next, we multiply the two. When we multiply 30,000 with 40,000, the numbers are large, but the multiplication is easy because all we do is multiply the non-zero digits first. 4 times 3 is 12. Now if you're multiplying, you count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So write down all the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is your estimate. Now find the area of a rectangle with sides 25 feet and 13 feet. Area, remember, is the inside of the rectangle. Perimeter is the outside measurement. You go around and measure by just adding numbers. Here we are going to find the area by multiplying length times width. So that is 25 feet times 13 feet.